Welcome to On Assignment, the podcast exploring the unseen forces that shape our communities and our democracy through the lens of local journalism. I'm Liz Cochrane. Today, we're diving into something I've come to think of as quantum civics, the idea that focusing our energy and attention at the local level might just be the most powerful way to untangle the knotted threads of national division. Let's be honest, our country feels increasingly fragmented. Every day brings headlines screaming about deepening partisan divides, communities pulling apart, that relentless us versus them mentality. Politics has become a team sport where loyalty to our side matters more than our shared goal of a thriving society. This intense polarization, the emotional dislike and distrust between opposing groups, threatens the very stability of our democracy. And frankly, the public is fed up. They're tired of the combative tone, the constant yelling, the endless criticism. They want solutions. They want someone to actually listen. But here's what I keep wondering. What if the antidote isn't found in grand, sweeping national movements? What if it's in the quiet, persistent work happening right next door? What if those microscopic interactions of local civic life hold the key to healing our macroscopic societal rifts? It's a bit like quantum mechanics, where the smallest particles influence the largest outcomes. Our national narratives, amplified by social media and a conflict-obsessed media landscape, tend to flatten complex issues into binary choices: red or blue, black or white, liberal or conservative. But this oversimplification ignores the intricate, multi-layered social identities and personal histories that actually shape individuals and communities. To navigate this complexity, we need more than just civility, which can ring hollow when it glosses over real power imbalances or assumes everyone bears equal responsibility for problems that profoundly impact some more than others. We need deeper understanding. We need to build genuine trust and commit to shared problem solving. And here's the encouraging news. Most Americans already believe we have more in common than what divides us. They see the value in creating opportunities for people to interact across different viewpoints. Today, we're joined by Dr. Kenji Nakamura, a researcher focused on depolarization and local civic engagement. His work bridges political psychology and grassroots organizing, helping communities reclaim agency by focusing on shared local narratives rather than divisive national frames. Dr. Nakamura, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Liz. This topic really gets to the heart of something crucial for our democracy and quite close to my heart. The idea of quantum civics resonates because it speaks to the hidden power of localized engagement. We often see polarization as this massive, intractable problem driven by national figures and media. But here's the thing. A significant part of the solution actually lies in our own backyards, in the everyday interactions and shared challenges that bind us as neighbors, not just as partisans. Think about this. Local leaders, especially those in county government, are often the most trusted level of government. They're embedded in their communities, they understand the unique needs and challenges, and they have direct connections to residents. This proximity builds trust and accessibility, making them pivotal in bridging gaps between communities and decision makers.
So if the solution is local, what does that actually look like? How do communities or individuals within them begin to bridge these divides when national narratives are so loud?
It starts with a fundamental shift in mindset and a commitment to certain foundational skills. First, we need to assume good intentions in others, believing that most people are trying to do what they think is right. This positive outlook sets the stage for better interactions. Second, we need to practice empathy, genuinely trying to understand another person's feelings, motivations, and experiences. This isn't about agreeing with them, but about connecting on a human level. Here's a crucial step. Individuals need to break out of their echo chambers. This means diversifying our media consumption to include sources with different perspectives and intentionally diversifying our social circles. It could be as simple as attending community events that bring together people from diverse backgrounds or exploring different neighborhoods in your own city. The goal isn't to change your mind, but to foster understanding by expanding your comfort zone and challenging preconceived notions. Instead of categorizing people by broad labels like conservative or liberal, we need to focus on individuality, not group identity. Ask open-ended questions that encourage personal stories. Explore individual experiences, identify common values that transcend political affiliations. Because here's what research from organizations like All Sides and More Like US has shown. Americans actually have a surprising amount of common ground across the political spectrum, far more than media narratives suggest. This perception gap, where we think the other side is more extreme than they actually are, is dangerous, but actively correcting it has proven effective in reducing anti-democratic attitudes and partisan animosity.
So it's about rediscovering our shared humanity beyond the headlines. Can you give us an example of how this plays out in a local setting?
Absolutely. Let me paint you a picture of a hypothetical town. Let's call it Harmony Creek. Like many places, Harmony Creek has its share of national political fervor, and neighbors put out yard signs for different candidates, and online community groups sometimes devolve into heated debates about national issues. But the town library, like this quiet bastion of local civic life, decided to try something new. The head librarian noticed an increase in frustrated comments and subtle tensions at community meetings. She'd heard about initiatives that bring people together not to debate, but to understand. Inspired by models like dinner party debate or European programs like EINIG, which create relaxed, informal settings for discussion and drawing on principles from the Convergence Center for Policy Resolution, she proposed a series of community conversations on shared challenges. The first meeting focused not on national policy, but on a practical local issue: improving the town's park system. They convened a diverse group, intentionally inviting people from different parts of town, different age groups, and different political leanings, but not based on their politics, based on their interest in the parks. Importantly, they didn't just invite the usual suspects. They actively reached out to hard-to-reach communities, new immigrant families, older residents who might feel overlooked. They started not with a presentation, but with connecting questions. Questions like, what was your favorite memory in a park growing up? Or, what values do you hope our public spaces embody for future generations? These questions were designed to elicit personal stories and core values rather than political positions, and they immediately changed the atmosphere. People shared memories of picnics, first dates, playing with their children. A shared humanity emerged, transcending any assumed political divides. Then a neutral, skilled facilitator, recommended by a local mediation service, guided the conversation. The facilitator established clear ground rules: listen to learn, not to rebut, and focus on I statements. This helped maintain a respectful, constructive tone even when disagreements arose. They moved beyond debate, which is often competitive and focused on winning, to true dialogue, which emphasizes understanding and exploration. The conversation shifted to interests, not just positions. Instead of someone saying, "What, we need more police patrols in the park," the facilitator helped them explore the underlying interest. "I'm concerned about safety in the park for my children." This opened the door to a wider range of solutions: better lighting, community watch programs, youth engagement initiatives, rather than just a single, often polarizing approach. They embraced the complexity of the issue, allowing for nuanced perspectives rather than simplifying it into a binary choice. By the end of the first meeting, they'd identified a common goal: a park system that's safe, accessible, and enjoyable for everyone in Harmony Creek. They even started brainstorming small, actionable steps they could take together, organizing a community cleanup day, hosting a shared potluck in the park.
That sounds like a powerful example of shifting from us versus them to we the people, solving our problems. What about the role of media and journalism in this local focus? We often get criticized for fueling polarization, and I'm not saying that isn't entirely warranted, but how does journalism fit into all of this?
That's a crucial point, and it's true that some journalistic practices have unfortunately contributed to polarization. The conflict model, a relentless focus on outrage and partisan combat, sensationalizing disagreements, presenting false balances, or simply not listening deeply enough to the public, these practices can erode trust. When news outlets focus on horse race politics rather than the issues, when they focus on points of contention and conflict rather than areas of agreement, they're serving the community a mixed bag. On one hand, we need to know that there was something members of the local school board disagreed on, but we're also stoking the fires of conflict by not also reporting what that same school board agreed on: more funding for the arts or similar. Journalism can and should be a powerful part of the solution. There's a growing movement towards constructive journalism, sometimes also called solutions journalism, which goes beyond merely exposing problems to actively offering solutions and exploring how other communities are dealing with similar issues. I like the turbine of constructive conversation model proposed by the Constructive Institute. Its blades represent essential elements for public discourse: listening deeply with empathy, asking open-ended questions to truly understand, being based on facts, not false claims, presenting issues with nuance, recognizing shades of gray, incorporating rich and diverse perspectives, being solution-oriented, not just problem-focused, maintaining a respectful tone, being concrete in communication, making discussions engaging, and finally, uniting people by identifying commonalities and intersections. Many real-world media organizations are adopting these practices. Programs like My Country Talks in Germany use an algorithm to match people with opposing views for one-on-one civil conversations. They've found that even a 2-hour discussion can significantly reduce polarization and prejudice. The BBC's Crossing Divides tells stories of people bridging differences, encouraging deeper engagement and empathy. The Texas Tribune focuses on in-depth political coverage and hosts large public festivals where citizens question politicians to find solutions, proving that people are interested in the details of policy when it's framed constructively and locally. These initiatives highlight a key insight: when we shift from abstract national debates to concrete local problem solving, and when media focuses on fostering understanding and solutions, people are more willing to engage constructively.
It seems like the common thread here is human connection and a willingness to see beyond the caricature, the surface. I've read and heard a bit about an organization that's helping folks do this at the local levels, the Braver Angels.
Braver Angels is a prime example of an organization applying these principles effectively. Their red-blue workshops are designed to reduce affective polarization, that is, the negative feelings people have towards those in the opposing party. Their approach, called reciprocal group reflection, is inspired by marital counseling. It focuses on helping participants understand the legitimacy of opposing beliefs without requiring compromise on policy issues. One of their core activities is the stereotypes exercise, where groups brainstorm negative stereotypes the other side has about them, then discuss why they're mostly false, but also try to find a kernel of truth. This fosters empathy and humanizes the outgroup. Critically, in these workshops, participants mainly interact with their own group before engaging in direct dialogue, and when they do engage, the focus is on understanding, not persuasion. Participants learn that their opponents are often less extreme and more diverse than they initially thought, and that they share more values in common than they realized. A program like Walk a Mile in My News from the Braver Angel Sacramento Alliance is another brilliant example. It encourages individuals to read news from the other side and then discuss it with a partner from that opposing viewpoint, emphasizing understanding over persuasion. Winnette Sills, a pro-life activist, and David Jacobs, a pro-choice activist, participated in this program. Despite their deeply held opposing views on abortion, they both found value in the humanized perspective gained. David reflected that it's hard to hate someone when you know them, you know something about their lives and what formed them into who they are. He realized that news can only give a caricature of a person and issues, and that we have to go and get the real thing ourselves. This sentiment echoes the core of quantum civics. The local, person-to-person connection cuts through the distortions of national narratives.
So the work of bridging divides isn't just about big policy changes, but about changing hearts and minds, one conversation at a time. That sounds like hard work.
Exactly. The Change Collective, for instance, focuses on equipping people for meaningful civic action at the local level. They understand that durable connections and the ability to navigate differences come from engaging in solving real-world problems together. When people work collaboratively on concrete issues affecting their daily lives, like providing expungement services for young adults or creating collaborative spaces for artists of color, as they've done in Detroit and Jackson, Mississippi, they build strong bonds that make their communities more resilient to political polarization. They cease to be just Republicans or Democrats and become neighbors focused on solving the same problem. This isn't about expecting everyone to agree on every issue. That's unrealistic and not the goal of a pluralistic society. Instead, it's about building a foundation of trust and mutual respect that allows for robust disagreement without descending into contempt or dehumanization. It's about recognizing that our differences, when properly navigated, can be assets that make our democracy more vibrant. It's a long-term journey, a sustained practice of dialogue and trust building, not a one-time event.
So if we're thinking about this from a quantum civics perspective, what's the call to action for our listeners? For anyone who feels overwhelmed by national divisions and wants to make a difference locally,
the call to action is to start small, but start somewhere. Seek out opportunities to engage with people who think differently from you. Not to argue, but to understand. It could be joining a local civic group, attending a town hall with an open mind, or simply initiating a curious conversation with a neighbor you usually avoid discussing politics with. Remember the power of active listening, quieting your own mind to truly hear the heart of the message from another person, acknowledging their emotions and asking clarifying questions without interruption. Look for shared values and common goals in your community, even on seemingly divisive issues. Focus on the tangible problems that affect everyone in your neighborhood, whether it's a struggling school, a local environmental concern, or public safety. When we work together on these concrete local challenges, we build relationships and a sense of shared purpose that can withstand the storm of national polarization. And if you're in a position of influence, As a community leader, a journalist, or even just an engaged citizen, consider how you can facilitate these conversations. How can you create safe, inclusive spaces where people can show up as their full, complex selves, moral convictions and all? How can you model the kind of respectful, solution-oriented dialogue that elevates collective understanding over partisan victory? This isn't about ignoring national issues, but about building resilience from the ground up. If enough individual communities can strengthen their civic fabric, bridging differences at the local level, those connections will ripple outwards, forming a web of understanding that can resist the most destructive forces of national division. It's a continuous journey, a persistent effort, but one that holds immense promise for a more connected, understanding, and resilient democracy.
It's hard to hate someone when you know them. That simple, profound truth from a participant in Walk a Mile in My News resonates so deeply. In a world that often feels designed to pull us apart, the quiet work of getting to know each other, one human at a time in our own communities, might just be the most revolutionary act of civic engagement we can undertake. It's in these countless, small, yet profound interactions that the true quantum civics takes hold, transforming seemingly insurmountable divides into a tapestry of shared understanding and collective possibility. Thank you, Dr. Nakamura, for this incredibly insightful conversation.
My pleasure, Liz.
And thank you for joining us for On Assignment. I'm Liz Cochrane. On Assignment is produced by Robert Sterner. Next time, we'll examine navigating the informal ecosystem, Facebook groups, WhatsApp, and the darkening forest of information. I hope you'll join us. Goodbye.